Today I'd like to show you how to install a security camera into a 2004 Camry. Okay, I'll bite. What's a security camera? It's a camera that records everything that happens in front of and behind your vehicle while you're driving. It's GPS enabled, so you have location, speed, date, and time, and if you wish, other functions like compasses and such. The reason why you would want to install one of these cameras is to protect yourself legally. There's been a big increase in insurance fraud, where people back into you and claim that you hit them. Also, it's an easy way to prove the light was green when you went through it. And unfortunately, it also helps against crooked cops. You know, like the ones that say you were going too fast when you really weren't. Okay, let's get started installing this thing. Since you are recording at a 4K rate, it does require a special memory card. So, when you buy the memory card, make sure either it's marked 4K, or the speed of the card indicates it can handle 4K recording. When you're installing or removing a SIM card, be aware that it's spring-loaded and it may go flying, and you need to be able to find it later. Lessons learned. With the card properly oriented, push it in and it should click into place. Before going through all the effort of tearing the car apart to install this, plug in all the cables and make sure this unit works. More than likely, there may be a little programming involved. Usually something pretty simple like what language will it be using. You also need to figure out whether it's a touchscreen or not. In my case, it was not a touchscreen. You have to use the buttons on the side. Then when my camera didn't seem to function so well, oh, look at that. It'd help if I remove the cover from it. Okay, everything seems to work well, so let's install the camera first. Using 99% alcohol, clean the area on the windshield where you're going to be putting the camera. My particular camera came with a piece of transparent plastic that you put on first. You then mount the camera onto that plastic. While doing this, make sure the camera is straight and level. You only get one shot at it, unless you want to drive around with a crooked camera. When I mounted mine, I actually had the camera recording so I could see what the recorded image would look like. Believe it or not, but this little plastic tool is called a crowbar. It came with the camera kit. You use it to gently pry on ceiling panels and stuff like that so you can slide the cable behind them. The camera has two cables, one of them is power. I routed that one across the driver's headliner, down along the windshield post, to the bottom of the dashboard. Using panduits, you can route it across behind the driver's console. Finally, using your crowbar, squeeze it into the gap in the center console going over to the outlet. Now the other cable you need to route is for the camera. There isn't enough room in the headliner for two cables, so we'll route that one across the passenger side. Use the crowbar on the headliner, go across the windshield post, then route it underneath the rubber seal for the door, across the center post, then behind the rubber seal for the back door. You'll want to remove the side seat cushion for the passenger. I already had video of removing this side seat cushion on the driver's side, so I'll show that to you. The passenger side is exactly the same. If you look in this area here, you'll find a 12mm bolt. Remove it. A very long extension makes the job pretty easy. Now you want to gently push up on the cushion. Don't pull out on it, you'll break it. It'll have to go up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Once that happens, it should pop right off. You can see the part you would have broken would be this little clip at the top of the cushion. Once it's clear, the whole thing will come out. This hole at the bottom of the cushion is where you remove that bolt from. Now we go into the trunk and we're going to loosen up the sidewall on the passenger side. In addition to just a couple of clips, you also need to remove this screw that's holding on the net hook. You should now be able to peel back the top of the sidewall. Take a really long panduit and push it through this little hole here. That cover is just a piece of foam. You're going to go underneath it. Now go around to the back seat and tape your connector for your camera onto that panduit. You should now be able to go back to the trunk, pull the panduit through, and your cable will come with it. Throw some panduits onto the cable to secure it into place. You can now put your seat cushion back on. Make sure this little tab here is above this little hook right here. Then gently push down on the seat cushion. Reinstall your 12mm bolt. We'll want to remove the trunk lid liner. It's held in place by these little buttons. As a matter of fact, it's held in place by a lot of little buttons. Before starting on the buttons, remove the manual trunk release handle. The cover pops off with a screwdriver placed into the front of it, then gently pry the base off. It will all snap back in place later. You can use the same screwdriver to pry the middle part of the button out. Once it comes out about 1/4 inch, the button should come out, or fall out. When you remove the last button, the whole liner is now free to be removed. Leave just a little bit of slack on the cable. Then use panduits to attach the cable to the trunk post. The kit came with some panduit hold downs. Before you stick these things to the trunk lid, you need to clean it. Your 99% isopropyl alcohol works great for this process. And here you see we've removed the overspray residue from when they painted this car 20 years ago. That would have interfered with a good stick on your hold downs. Okay, let's take a look at the trunk routing so far. Here's our loose slack up the post. You can see I put 2 hold downs on, then ran through that little hole. The yellow thing is the camera connector, and all my extra slack for the cable is going to go right here. Finally, we get to the only tricky part of this whole installation. How do we get through the trunk lid? I absolutely did not want to drill holes in the trunk. That would have broken my corrosion protection for it. So, let's use the light bulb holder for the license plate. First, remove the bulb. Rotate it counterclockwise. There's plenty of room on the outboard side of this plastic cover where I can actually drill a hole through it. So I drilled a pilot hole right through the lens cover. The actual connector for the camera is 9/32 in diameter. Do your final drill out with this size bit. Using a combination of compressed air and a vacuum cleaner, try to get all your plastic shavings out of the lens cover. You can now feed your camera connector through the hole. This is what it looks like underneath the trunk. Since I drilled it at an angle, you can see there's still plenty of room for the light bulb. And here it is coming out of the lens cover on the outside of the car. Okay, now we need to mount the camera. Break out your 99% alcohol again, and clean the area where you're going to stick the camera. While mounting it, remember, straight and level. Apply another panduit hold down to hold the cable in place. I don't want water to get into this lens cover, so I use some hot glue to completely fill the gaps left over from the cable routing. Go back inside the trunk, hook up the camera connector to the cable you routed from the front of the car. Then use panduits to secure all the extra wiring in this area. One thing I was worried about was the heat from the light bulbs affecting the cable. Those bulbs do get pretty hot. So the fix for this was pretty easy. I just replaced the light bulbs with LED light bulbs. They don't get nearly as hot. Well, that's about it. It took me about 1 day to do this job. But that included all the inventing time where I had to try to figure out where in the heck I was going to route it. If I would watch this video first, I'm guessing probably about 6 hours installation time. Whoops, oh yeah, I forgot. Don't forget to put your trunk liner back on. Hold the liner in place, install the center clip to hold it, then reinstall all the other clips. Thanks for watching.